Hey, it's late January here, and I was just cracking some hickory nuts to make hickory brew, and I thought it'd be a fun opportunity to share what this is all about. Maybe folks would get excited for this upcoming fall to harvest hickory nuts if you're lucky enough to have them growing where you live. A friend of mine, Akiva, over at Twisted Tree Farm down in Spencer, New York, taught me this a ways back, that hickory nuts, so these are the actual nuts, and they're super prolific on good years. In our area, hickory is around and about. And what's nice about these is that on a good year, 2013 was the last huge year for these, they'll land on the ground like this, and all you have to do is pick them up and let them dry a little bit, and then stored in onion sacks, they'll last for 3 years, maybe 5 years in a basement, just hanging in an onion sack. So incredible amount of protein and fat and mineral and deliciousness that lasts for years just hanging out in your basement. A lot of people don't like working with these because they're hard to crack, and then it's tiny bits of nut meat and tons of shells, and it busts up your teeth. The cool thing about hickory brew is that rather than messing around with trying to get each little piece of nut meat out, you take them and crush them. And what I'm using here is called the Master Nutcracker, which works also for black walnuts and other really hard-shelled nuts. So this is great. If you don't have one, you can just take some sheets of newspaper and a hammer and go out on concrete and put a couple of these nuts in between the newspaper and just wail on it with the hammer. And what you're looking for is actually just to crush it. Well, see, that one's a dud. That'll go to the chickens. Let me crack another one. So I'll crack this open, and in there is probably the nicest tasting nut you may ever be lucky to eat. It's a lot like a pecan, but a lot more flavor. But I'm not worried about getting all the nut meat out. I'm throwing in the shells and the nuts in this bowl, and I'm just going to spend a few minutes here and crack a bunch of these. They'll then go in a pot. I'll roast them a little bit on our wood stove, and then pour a ton of water over it and simmer them for about a day. And that makes the most delicious tea you could ever imagine. I'll stop talking here though and get to that part and show you that next. So here we are at the wood stove. We just got a pot, a nice stainless steel pot, sitting on the wood stove. Right now I'm just going to get the stove a little bit warmer, and I'm going to put these in first, dry, and I'm going to hang out with them for the next couple minutes and stir frequently until it starts smelling like nice lightly toasted nuts. So I'll just get in there with a wooden spatula or spoon and turn them. What I don't want to do is walk away or leave the room, because these could burn pretty easily if it gets very warm. And right now we're heating this, and we're going to actually make most of this tea based on biochar session. So I'll make a link here once I'm going to make a video on this idea. I have an old one, I'll link that now, but then I'm planning on doing an update one. We've got some stainless steel hotel pans in there with a bunch of locust offcuts cooking away. And the process of making biochar will provide the heat to make our hickory brew. That's kind of a nice combo. So it's been about 5 minutes or so. The stove's not super hot, but it's hot enough. It's browned up, smells real good, and it's time to add the water. Now, I don't know that I'm going to advise a real particular recipe, but I would guess I put in about a cup of crushed nuts, and this is 1 gallon of spring water. It's nice to use good water if you can. That's going to make a strong brew. You could probably even add more water if you had a bigger pot. But we're going to go ahead and let that simmer now. It's 3:30 in the afternoon. I probably won't try it until this evening, and tomorrow is when it's going to be real good. So it is the next morning, and we're ready to enjoy some delicious hickory nut brew. We're going to add a little bit of maple syrup to it, and you can see in the morning light it's a lot clearer. Really, really nice dark liquid, almost as thick as an espresso. and all of the nut meat is floating on the top. All of the shells are at the bottom. So we'll get a ladle and scoop only from the top, and each mug will have nicely cooked pieces of delicious pecan flavored nut meat and a really, really rich buttery tasting tea with a little bit of maple syrup. It's a 100% tree crop product that you can make yourself. Enjoy. So there you have it, hickory nut brew. Incredibly easy to make. This fall, when the hickory nuts are falling, if you're lucky enough to have them where you are, you should collect them, dry them out, and enjoy this all winter. This was a small handful of nuts, made a gallon of tea that tastes so good. Get real close to the monitor right now and give that a sniff. Can you smell that? It's amazing.
Oh,
it's so good.
Nice.
You like that? And oh, by the way, Mark Angelini, thank you so much for this spoon. It's a really beautiful handcrafted spoon that he made. Good friend of ours, and we use it all the time. So.
Very nice.
All right, enjoy your hickory brew.